Welcome back to the 2014 R&D Invitationals of Guns and Bakers Online. We're getting set up for a matchup between Zill's Merry Men and the Brotherhood, Byron Cavendish's group. We'll be getting into it shortly here. The lobby has been made. The first map is going to be Northern Fjords. Fjords. Oh.
Second one's going to be Periton Rumble. These are two of my favorite maps to cast.
This is a very old matchup. Very old matchup. Zill's Merry Men, one of the older groups. I shouldn't say that. Makes it sound like they're, in a nursing home or something. No, that's rude to say. No, they're just one of the more old guard-esque individuals and groups.
Yeah, you don't see them very much. You see them in large events. And that's about it. They practice with scrims, and besides that, you don't see them a whole lot.
They're very internal.
Yeah, definitely. It really feels like they just try to gun for these big events.
Absolutely.
And they perform decently well.
In addition to that, the Brotherhood, although, as we were explaining, they are technically a newer group as of this summer. By the way, everyone in chat was popping up to say, no, Oracle, it didn't just happen. Come on. They broke off from the Gents to make their own group. There are a lot of older names associated with the Brotherhood.
Yeah, it's impressive, and that's one of the really impressive things about them. I imagine Byron's going to be piloting.
Yeah, I'm looking to try to see. Byron Cavendish is actually offline right now.
Hopefully he'll be able to come online. Not sure. So, can we check the lineups real quick?
We can for the Merry Men.
Well, yes. Lobby. Yep. Zill. Of course. Right there. And
you'd figured Zill piloting.
And there's Imagine.
Yeah, Imagine's in game as well. Over on Shinkurix's Not My Fault.
Yeah, Imagine's been casting a lot less so that he can play. It's cool to see him play. We're gonna have, so it looks like Goldfish Galleon. Again, this is the strategy that we just saw. I think that this is a strategy that's become more popular. You have one ship that makes a breach, and then the other ship is sort of like the carry. They're the one that is there to do the majority of the damage. And I think that's what's brought Galleons back into regular play. Look at that damage potential. So it looks like they're going for a more disabled build, though, in this case. Like Lumberjack for the balloon, Watcha for the components, Artemis for much the same.
This is, once again, these are a lot of old names. Shinkurex, Imagine, Rear Admiral Zill, Norwegian Wolf, Adria Summers. All these people have been around the community for ages.
Now, this is interesting. So usually when you have a blender fish, it's all about that carronade. You're just trying to keep it in arc as much as possible. So this is interesting. Instead of having flamethrowers on the side guns, they have banshees. And I think that is due to the buff.
We've been seeing people replacing the traditional side flamers with banshees in the situation because of their, I don't want to say enhanced capabilities, but how they have been changed in recent times.
Byron has arrived.
There we go. Apparently Byron doesn't have Skype anymore, which is why he didn't get any of the passwords or information.
Oops.
I might have to take a stick to some people. Or we figure out a better way to communicate. The 2-minute lobby timer has started. Both teams now have 2 minutes to ready themselves for combat before we get into game. Again, the first map is going to be Northern Fjords. The second one, another map that both these teams know very well, Periton Rumble.
And Battle on the Dunes for the last one.
I don't think... we might get Battle on the Dunes, actually. Both these teams are pretty well matched.
Yeah, I'd say the Merry Men have been around for a long time, but they don't play in a whole lot of events. They don't get as much competitive experience. They do it for the sake of secrecy. But I'm not sure that that is a great substitute for competitive practice. Just playing in tournaments really helps take the edge off. It gets you more used to competitive play, I feel. But the Brotherhood, they're very different. They even have a gent. They even have
they
Fox.
have Fox.
They have Fox for them. That is quite a pickup. Fox is good.
We'll see how they manage things. Byron not taking rather the Junker. He's taking the Changer of Ways, which is a Hades Artemis Pyramidion with an Artemis on the side. You can get a pretty good trifecta there at mid-range with that. Very effective on Northern Fjords.
I think Northern Fjords is one of those maps where I feel like any build is, any viable build is good. So many different strategies work because you can sneak up on opponents using the clouds. You have a very high flight ceiling, so vertical movement is really good. It's this map is actually where the Brawlbula made its debut. Everything's good. Anything can work. And it's all going to come down to, Kirk and I have been talking about it, the synergy between the two ships that these teams pick.
Yes, that's going to be a major deal here. Flying Dutchman taking double Gatling front for excellent armor stripping capabilities. And I think that actually complements the Changer of Ways pretty well because of those double Artemis. Double Artemis, it actually doesn't do half bad when it comes to taking out chunks of hull. It's not the best weapon, but it's certainly not the worst.
It chips.
Yep.
It has very strong chip damage.
Absolutely. So we are getting started here. Teams have readied up for the most part. And we'll be getting into it here very shortly. Again, this is the first game of this best of three. The Brotherhood on the red side of things versus Zill's Merry Men on the blue.
Yep, here we go. Getting underway. This is going to be interesting. This is one of those matches that sort of makes me lean back in my chair, stick my pipe in my mouth, and rub my beard thoughtfully.
You couldn't even grow a beard.
No, I can't.
It's okay. I don't judge you. Northern Fjords is going to be the map, guys. You have a high flight ceiling to work with. You have some very large, solid blocks of terrain that you can use, including Candy Mountain, the Archway, and the Cathedral. Getting into the loadouts here. First off, the Flying Dutchman for the Brotherhood. Double Gat front Pyramidion flown by Minotauro. Side double Merc. And we have the Changer of Ways, piloted by Byron Cavendish. Pyramidion, Artemis, and Hades front with an Artemis and Flare side. A trifecta is very much capable on that ship. Go ahead, Oracle, with the other side of things.
For the Merry Men, we have the And I Got Shot, a Pyramidion being piloted by Zill. Gat Banshee forward, my goodness, with double mine launcher port side. We also have the Not My Fault, a Goldfish being piloted by Shinkorex. It's a Blenderfish with double Banshee on either side. This team believes in the Banshee.
Whew. They trust in it. Not
so. Whew. This the Changer. No, it's not the Changer. It's the Flying Dutchman. Is such a bold build. They really are going to be the engagers here. They're not looking for the kill. They're
getting engaged first though. Flying Dutchman starting to take some fire there. Not My Fault getting hammered though by the Changer of Ways. Hades shot starting to go over the top of it, but they have taken a little bit of fire. Flying Dutchman armor is down, getting hammered by the end. I got shot. They could go down here. First quick kill for Zill's Merry Men. Armor down once again. They get ripped to shreds.
Goodness gracious, that timing was perfect. Now the Changer of Ways is in a lot of trouble. It's firing shots out on the And I Got Shot, quite aptly named, into the engine column. Lighting no fires. Oh, one fire. So even that one fire is very important because it reduces the effectiveness of that engine by a certain amount. Changer of Ways is in a little bit of trouble here. It's backing up, but it doesn't have anywhere to back up to. It's going to have to catapult its way over to its ally who has just spawned in.
Changer of Ways could get caught. They are definitely getting caught here. Not My Fault does not bump them, but they do keep that front gun in our heavy carronade, eating into the balloon. No, they missed the balloon. They hit mostly the armor.
Oof. They might have been going for the engines, but missed. Flying Dutchman now given an opportunity to come in and help its ally. However, the Flying Dutchman is very dependent on its ally to get a kill, and the Changer of Ways is in so much trouble.
They are... Changer of Ways needs to get their balloon back up. Flying Dutchman lose their balloon as well. The Not My Fault doing a great job of suppressing those balloons and the altitude of the Brotherhood team so far.
Ooh, Banshee going to the Flying Dutchman. Looks like they don't have a whole lot of chem spray there. Their engines are burning out. They are very weak, and the Flying Dutchman is in a lot of trouble. The Changer of Ways has got to make something happen now.
Flying Dutchman getting ripped to shreds by the end. I got shot. Hades and Artemis shots are loading into it, but it's simply not enough firepower to change the outcome of that engagement.
Hades going out, Not My Fault dropping down. They're just letting the Banshee do the work. They just want more raw fire, I guess? But chem sprays are up, and it looks like the Changer of Ways might be able to get out of here with the carronade lining up for shots into the main engine. First shot goes out, lands. Second one doesn't disable anything.
Changer of Ways losing a little bit on the balloon. By a little bit, I mean quite a lot. Balloon and armor are both down. Not My Fault coming in behind it, giving it a bump, sending it off, actually sending it on arc, but not making much of a difference because they simply have no way to return firepower right now. All hands on deck to repair. They are getting
shredded. 3 people were on the hull. 1 person was on the balloon. Byron even joined them. I believe that was Byron.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, that was Byron Chip.
Yeah, down on the hull. This is one of the reasons I repeat the mantra: each ship needs to be self-reliant. Like this is what happens. You see, one of those ships gets locked down, the other one can't do anything. It's really dangerous.
Not My Fault sweeping in right in front of the Flying Dutchman, using that Banshee to great extent. You can hear those shrieks just pounding away.
This is brutal.
At that Pyramidian.
Oh! Bounce
Bad
against
bump.
the wall. They were just trying to get away as fast as they could, but losing that balloon over and over again is not what you want. They're just using charged. Yeah. Volutari is loading charged up into that carronade to get kills as quick as possible, and they get it. Not My Fault. Doing a lot of work this game.
Changer of Ways is in a lot of trouble now. Not My Fault and End I got shot. Both closing the gap on it very quickly. Not My Fault coming in from the left. And End I got shot holding at the right.
Those are impressive Banshee shots.
Yes, they are. It's not always easy to get those long-range and mid-range Banshee shots on point, but they have absolutely been on point so far this entire game.
1 missed. That's about it. Armor comes back up. The armor drops again. 5-0. Merrymen with a clean sweep. I don't even think they took any hull damage.
If they did, we weren't able to see it.
I don't think their armor dropped once.
I don't think so either. The Brotherhood was on...
Or no. Maybe they had the double Gatling, and maybe they dropped the armor once there.
It was tough to notice if it did drop. The Brotherhood team was on its back foot the entire game. They were engaged early and very quickly. Zill pushing the aggression as high as possible. Although, and I hate to say this, but in traditional Merrymen style, they didn't have any buffs.
Wow.
They didn't actually use any buffs. So there
actually was a little bit of talk in the chat about buff.
Yeah, they picked up the chat picked up on that very quickly.
Yeah, it's something that you look for. All right, here we go. Next match going to be Peryton Rumble.
We do need to make a new lobby, so we will be back in game here in just a moment. Until then, Peryton Rumble, Oracle. These teams know Peryton Rumble very well. They've seen it so many times. Apparently, Imagine was buffing. Imagine was buffing on the Goldfish, but that was it.
Buff Hammer is so useful on the Goldfish. You practically need it.
It really is.
It's great because you only have a couple of things that you need to buff. Even though they're kind of spread out, you don't need to buff as much. I'd say that a goldfish isn't as dependent on buffs for the turning engines, as turning is enough.
Mm-hmm.
You just buff the main engine, you buff the balloon, and you buff the main gun. Armor isn't strong enough to make a massive difference. You can contest, if you can get a buff on the turning engines, that's fine, but losing the buff on the turning engines isn't the end of the world. It's not like losing the buff on turning engines on a junker.
We'll be getting game here very shortly.
Yeah,
Again,
hopefully.
back to
Yeah,
my,
like you were saying. Yeah.
back to my original question of Parent and Rumble for these two teams. What do you think we're going to see out of them? How do you think they're going to play this off?
I think that the armor stripping is going to be a little bit better if the Brotherhood decides to take it again. I don't think that was the right choice for Northern Fjords at all. I think that was wrong. I think what they really needed to do was take more self-reliant ships. In Peregrine Rumble, though, you can sort of afford to take double armor shred because rams will do the damage, and you just shove them into a building or down onto the ground or something like that. And since teams usually hang out pretty low on Peregrine Rumble, bottoming out is a constant threat.
Yes. It can be very dangerous. Peregrine Rumble, back when the... God, what's it called? The name's escaping me now.
Back when...
Velcro. Back when Velcro was a thing, this map would be death if you touched a building.
Yes. That sense changed. Now you've got to really shove them into it.
It makes me wonder, though, if some of these older pilots are going to play it just a little bit safer, because the memories of that, I have heard, stick in one's brain a while.
Like Velcro.
God.
I think Dan just quit.
Oh boy. I have nothing.
So what are the Brotherhood running? Gap mortar. Okay, gap mortar on the Flying Dutchman and carronade. Okay. This is a little bit more traditional. That double Gatling was painful. I think it was a huge mistake. Plus, like the way that the Brotherhood allowed themselves to be engaged upon, that sealed the deal. There was no way that they could come back. Like when you take two ships that are so reliant on one another, you have to get the advantage. You have to have either a completely even engagement or an advantageous engagement. But if you get snuck up on, you are done. And that's exactly what we saw. We just saw the meat grind. And that the Merry Men ships are so fast. The Goldfish is so fast. He was always right there as someone spawned. They had no trouble.
Lucas getting everyone good to go here. Merry Men ready to go. They're taking pretty much the same ships, or at least the same basic ships. We'll see if the loadouts are different. The Brotherhood folks changing out the second Pyramidion for a Goldfish as well. So we have a Pyre Goldfish on each side.
They want that mobility to be able to move through the buildings. Now, what that tells me is that these teams aren't going to be as passive. Sometimes in Peregrine Rumble, we see the slow swirl around the map, gently combing for the enemy. But in this case, what this tells me is that both teams are going to be proactive. They're going to try to get the jump on their opponent. And I expect that we're going to see a lot of action very early.
You go ahead and take the Brotherhood this time.
Yeah, sure. So for the Brotherhood, clad in red this time around, we have the Flying Dutchman, a Pyramidion being piloted by Minotauro. Gatling mortar forward with a Banshee and carronade on the port side. They also have the Soul Grinder, a Goldfish being piloted by Byron Cavendish, the leader of the Brotherhood. Carronade up front with Banshees on either side.
On the Merry Men side of things, the And I Got Shot, piloted by Rear Admiral Zill, front Gat Banshee with side double mine launcher, and we
Haven't
have the
used
Not
those
My.
yet.
What's that?
They haven't used those yet. I see
Not
double
really.
mine launcher on the port side of Piros a lot and just never does anything.
It's not used too terribly often. On the Not My Fault, piloted by Shinkurex, we have a blender fish with side Banshees on both. Actually, they're keeping up with the Banshees. They like those.
Both teams like that, keeping up with the Banshdashians. Now they, what they're looking. You're frowning at me, aren't you?
I wasn't even gonna say anything.
I'm frowning
Excellent.
at you.
Okay, at least I got Rob's love. So this is interesting. I think the reason they're taking the Banshees is, I was talking earlier about the really good arcs on the Banshee, and if you want to get rid of armor with a carronade, you take incendiary rounds, and that's what usually that's what Volteri has taken. He's taken charged as well, but he's gone for incendiary for a little bit of disable. They're going for just the fire stacks, and I think that the fire stacks with incendiary combined with Banshee is going to be significant.
We'll see once we get
running the same thing. Fox is running the same thing.
We'll see once we get our first engagement here. The Merry Men team holding very tight formation, but very high in the air, almost asking to be spotted in this situation. Not really using cover or the clouds in any major way.
Which is interesting because neither team has a flare.
That's true, which surprises me.
Yeah, me too. I was looking, I'm like, okay, so you have the double mine launchers, but you sacrifice a flare. So the other team is gonna, wait a minute, they didn't have a flare either. They have Banshee Carronade. What do you think about that? Do you really think that giving up that flare is worth having an extra carronade on the like mid-level deck of the Pyrrha?
No.
Neither do I.
No. Especially on Paradin Rumble. Like, if this was Battle on the Dunes, let's say, and you wanted an extra gun in that slot that you could then take advantage of for different ranges, that's understandable because you have a lot of ranges to work with on Battle on the Dunes. Sometimes you have the opportunity to get up close. Sometimes you cannot get close. You need a long range option. In this situation, though, clouds are everywhere. Oh, the Soul Grinder is caught alone. And I got shot, not my fault. Both leaping on the target. Soul Grinder getting grinded down into nothing.
What in the world? What in the world are they doing, leaving their goldfish all alone like this? It's dropping. Balloon is down. Only now are they getting around to repairing it. The armor's dropping. They're going to bounce, and they die. Brotherhood let their goldfish go out so far ahead.
Makes absolutely no sense to do that. The Merry Men simply played it cool, didn't get too incredibly aggressive, followed it down, kept shot arcs, and obliterated it.
Boom.
Flying Dutchman holding back. He did not engage at all during that matchup.
Wasn't even spotted. Wasn't even close. When you have your ships spread out, okay, so you imagine you're the Brotherhood. So you have, you swept the northern side. It's all right, they're not there. Split up your ships. Maybe we'll find them. Well, you have to imagine that the enemy is, moving around the map. Either your Pyrrha or your Goldfish is going to get found. I cannot see any tactical usage of having your ships so far apart after you know that one of them is going to get nudged by their opponent. Both opposing ships.
And I got shot, not my fault. Holding very close together still. They don't want to break that formation in case they get engaged. They will not, at least for the moment, however, because the Brotherhood on the other side of the map trying to group back up, but they're still separated. They still have quite a bit of separation, in fact.
When you're running two close range ships, if you have an idea where the opponent is, you can set up a flank. Thralls do that all the time. Like that is a thing that you can do, but you got to know where your opponent is if you're going to try for a flank. Otherwise, you have to stick together to make sure you have enough firepower to repel any run-in with your opponent.
Soul Grinder and Flying Dutchman have met back up. We have 16 minutes in total left in this game if both these teams use up their extra overtime.
Flying Dutchman exposing their engine column. They've been spotted. So these teams both know where the other one is. Brotherhood have got to set this up better this time. Flying Dutchman getting hit by the anti-got shot. They're just coming right over. This is very aggressive, but a lot of that Gatling is going wide. This is not looking so great for the Merry Men.
And I got shot, losing its balloon very quickly. The Soul Grinder getting good arcs on it during that approach. Not my fault, though, swinging around, getting easy shots on the Brotherhood ships. And I got shot going down. Armor is lost. They get Goomba stomped by the Soul Grinder.
Brutal. Yeah, that was exactly what should have happened after all those Gatling shots missed. Not my fault. Now booking it away. Mortars go wide. Can't keep up. Not my fault. Should be able to get on out of this. They do have kerosene.
And they're getting out with minimal damage taken.
Yes.
That's the important
very
part.
Little hull damage. So they managed to salvage this engagement. They cut their losses, and I think they made the right move. I think that the engagement from over the building was a bit ill-advised, and that's exactly what the Brotherhood was setting up for, just in case they decided to do that. And Merry Men played right into it. So good moves from the Brotherhood, a bit of a misstep from the Merry Men.
And I got shot, not my fault. Grouped back together very quickly. The Brotherhood about to run into them here. Soul Grinder actually getting caught on the ground for some reason. They lost quite a bit of balloon there. The Flying Dutchman getting engaged by both Merry Men ships. Soul Grinder not quite in range to engage just yet. And I got shot. The one taking the most damage, though, he gets ripped apart. Flying Dutchman is in a little bit of pain, but it's not nearly as bad as losing the entire ship. Not my fault. Armor going down once again. He does a crazy Ivan over the top of the Soul Grinder. Soul Grinder not quite quick enough to turn and engage before Not My Fault is essentially out of range, although balloon does go down.
Yeah, it's not going to do much about that. That's not going to hurt anything, really. They're going to be able to get it back up.
Nope. Oh, wait. Superior Not My Fault. Bounces.
Oh,
they're fine. They're fine.
Is Soul Grinder going to follow? They're trying to, but there's buildings between them. They're fine. Props to the Flying Dutchman's Gatling gunner, by the way. Snipester just doing better on that Gatling. That was just straight up better. I mean, they even had a Goldie firing in on them as well, but the Gatling was more on point.
Fantastic shots on their part, and I got shot, eating up the Flying Dutchman. Armor goes down.
They want vengeance.
Not too much, though, on the damage side of things. Banshee doesn't come in until after the armor is back up on the Flying Dutchman. Soul Grinder is worlds away right now. Nowhere near this engagement. Flying Dutchman is stuck in a 2v1 they do not want to be in. Engines are burning down. Balloon is down. Armor is gone. Banshee's trying to finish it off. Not quite there, though.
That was close. Flying Dutchman still in it, and the Soul Grinder finally staggering its way into the fight, but it just dodges the tar. But 2v1, I'm not sure that this is a great engagement.
This is a bad idea. You never want to go into a 2v1. Terrible idea.
Carronade from the Not My Fault, ready and waiting, and they're over a building. They're going to drop onto a building.
Not what the Soul Grinder needs. Not My Fault. Coming in for the nuzzle of death.
They bounce a building, but the Soul Grinder is still stuck on top. Can they pop the balloon before they can back away? It's going to be close. They bounce, but they slip out. They slip out. They're okay.
Not my fault.
Armor is not my fault. Ooh, bad ram. That is going to go straight into their hull.
Not My Fault. Lost way too much hull there, considering how gentle that engagement was. They should not have bounced. That was a forced error.
No. And I got shot. Okay, and I got shot loses a lot of hull that I feel like they should not have lost in that engagement. But still, they pick up the kill. I'd say that even though the Merry Men got the kill, that was significantly worse for them.
This second game has been a matchup of both forced and unforced errors on both sides, as well as very good gunning. And I got shot. Not My Fault. Doing a number on the Soul Grinder, trying their best to get a kill here before the Soul Grinder has an opportunity to escape.
They're going to bounce.
Banshees are going to finish this one off once armor goes down. Once again, not my fault. In range, armor is gone. Banshees get the kill. 3-2 in favor of Merry Men.
That was brutal. Flying Dutchman coming in, but it's 2v1. Not my fault. It's just taking scratches on their armor. Okay, there we go. They start landing, but they're back in cover. The Flying Dutchman is going to back away.
We're about to hit our overtime timer, folks.
3-2 right now.
Now, the Merry Men may have a small point advantage, but they certainly do not have a hull advantage. Flying Dutchman and Soul Grinder both spawning in close. If this next engagement is a harsh, fast one, the opportunity for the Brotherhood to come back 4-3 is very much there.
Now, in this sort of situation, if I could choose to be on one of these teams, I would choose the Brotherhood, because the Merry Men, going into an engagement with both ships so damaged is so painful, because armor drops once. They're dead.
Oh, goodness. And I got shot is in a very bad position, but Soul Grinder getting forced backwards.
Yeah, armor goes down. They bounce again. Lose a little bit of hull, but the Flying Dutchman is right on them. Armor goes down. Banshee
Great Banshee finish.
Why in the world did they go in? Not my fault. Coming towards... Going past.
Not my fault. Does not want to be here. And I don't blame them one bit.
Wow. Yeah, they're just going to go right past. That's what I was talking about. Armor drops once. They're done.
Not my fault. And Flying Dutchman, or rather, Flying Dutchman and Soul Grinder, both pursuing the not my fault where, or at least in the direction they thought they headed. Not my fault is visible from the Flying Dutchman, but a spot does not go down. There it is. Soul Grinder lining up that carronade very quick. Oh, they take a bounce.
That was a bad bounce. Gatling going to go down on not my fault. Soul Grinder still able to get its carronade into arc. Do they have heavy clip loaded, though?
Mortar is way early. Mortar is way early from the Flying Dutchman.
They knew the not my fault was going to get away. They just fired out what they had. And I got shot now. Coming in from the side. That Gatling may have been placed poorly, but the Flying Dutchman getting a chance to answer. Armor goes down. Flying Dutchman not looking so great. Armor comes back up very, very quickly. They're going to run into a building, though. They lost an engine, or one of them caught fire, and that sent them careening into a building.
Not my fault is losing altitude. Their balloon just comes back up. Soul Grinder pursuing, and I got shot, while Flying Dutchman is taking some pretty serious damage. Soul Grinder moving in, bumping one straight into a couple of buildings. If and I got shot keeps dropping, they are done for.
Ooh, not my fault. It was a great arc. There it goes. And I got shot. Getting rammed up against the building, it looks like. Not my fault. Now in a lot of trouble. Armor not looking great. Brotherhood looking to take this one. If the not my fault hits the crane, I think that's going to be it. They don't get caught. They don't get caught on it. And they're able to slow. Oh, they get caught on the building, though. Their armor's low. Their balloon is down. Flying Dutchman looking to come and clean this one up. Soul Grinder going to keep the balloon down. Gatling goes into the hull.
Not my fault. Armor is down.
There it is. A little bit late. Gatling may be able to take the armor down a second time. Mortar comes in. This time, it's on point.
There it is.
Picks up game number 2.
They do. We're going to game number 3 here. I believe it was Battle on the Dunes, correct? What's the Battle on the Dunes?
Battle on the Dunes going to be the last map.
We'll see what happens there. Oh, boy.
The Merry Men feel rusty.
Absolutely. I think they were just a little off point there. Battle on Dunes is going to give both teams an opportunity to finish this matchup with a bang. Probably a long-range bang, considering the two teams we have here. Both these teams, very accurate in the long-range and mid-range firepower game. We'll see if they go that direction.
Aha, Battle on the Dunes. We don't have to remake
thank
the lobby.
goodness. How kind of the Muse Gods.
Excellent. So after the first match, I agree with you. You mentioned something in the middle of that match. There were a lot of forced and mostly unforced errors. And that's what was really killing them. And we saw each time one of the teams made a mistake, the other one capitalized on it immediately. And I almost feel like the team that was playing more conservatively did better.
We'll see. We'll see. Loadouts are going to be a major thing here.
Yeah, Battle on the Dunes, you really only have a couple of loadouts that are useful. I imagine that we're going to be seeing like maybe Galleons, probably a Mobula on each team. Mobula is kind of the meta on Battle on the Dunes. Mercury, double RD. Sometimes
if we even
teams
see
take
any in the first place.
Sometimes you see echidnas, but they tend to perform significantly worse.
Mm-hmm. No loadout changes yet.
Yeah, I imagine they're going to. Right now, they're discussing, like, what do we want to take? They don't want to reveal their hand too early. We have 2 minutes till the next game gets started. So teams are going to take those 120 seconds to discuss what they want to take. And I imagine that they're going to have to do it quick. I wonder, we occasionally see lumberfish on this map. We see galleons a fair bit. Yeah, merry men looking at a galleon already. I wonder, they're probably going to change up this close range one, or like medium range one, to take something more long range.
I'm very okay. Zill has switched over to the galleon. Double Hwacha for this. If Flying Dutchman stays as one of the Brotherhood ships, this is gonna be tough. Because I love the Lumberjack on this map. I love the Hellhound, the heavy twin Carronade on this map. The watches though, I don't feel that just yet. I'm not sure I'm on board with that.
I have very strong feelings about loadouts on this map, and one particularly strong sentiment. Either you take 2 sniping ships or you take 2 brawling ships. Always. Because if you take anything in between, your sniping ship is going to end up too far away from your brawling ship when they engage the enemy. That is the pattern. That is the pattern every time. Yep, we're getting underway. Battle on the Dunes. For those of you uninitiated, Battle on the Dunes is the largest map for 2v2 in the game. Not a ton of clouds. You have a little bit of cloud cover. You have some clouds that permanently hang out in the southeast of the map. But for the most part, very wide open areas. A couple of dust storms to deter approach.
Loading in here, we have first up the Flying Dutchman for the Brotherhood. Minotauro, the pilot there. Gat Mortar with double Merc on the side for the long-range firepower when they need to engage in long range. We also have Her Majesty Roy, in reference to Roy of the Gents, piloted by Byron Cavendish. Right-hand side is double Hwacha, with left-hand side double heavy flak with a Merc.
Goodness gracious.
Oh,
that is bold. Flare on the back. Yeah, and then on the other side for the Merry Men, we have the Then It Was Rebuilt. Again, a galleon being piloted by Zill. Port side, Lumberjack, Hwacha, Artemis. So a little bit interesting there. Starboard side, Brawling, Hwacha, Carronade. Mortar on the back, pretty normal looking galleon. Except for that port side. We also have the Not My Fault, a Goldfish, being piloted by Shinkarex. Carronade on the front with Banshees on either side.
Hold on a second.
Holding on.
I would like... Thank you, Pandas, for pointing this out in chat. Commander Byron Cavendish, as he bumps his galleon on something, he has some protection for that bumping in one of his pilot tools.
Yes.
He has impact bumpers.
That's not that odd.
Really?
It's
on
not
a
that
galleon?
odd. No, I take it on my galleon, and I'll tell you why. When you start dropping to the floor, let's say you lose your balloon. You drop to the floor. Now, there are 2 things that are great when you've lost your balloon. The first one is Drogue Shoot. That reduces your speed that you drop and you lose your balloon. The other thing that's really nice for dropping is impact bumpers. Not because it reduces your speed, but because when you actually land on the ground, you take significantly less damage from the grind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably why they took it.
In addition to curious loadout choices for captains, Zill taking a rangefinder.
The odd. They're
I
approaching though. They're not looking to use it at all.
yeah,
This is a
they
very bold move, and this is what I'm saying. Like you either need to commit to sniping or commit to brawling, and it looks like Merry Men want to brawl.
Merry Men are getting right in the faces
Oh,
of the Brotherhood,
flak.
but those flag shots, that flag shot took a lot of
Yeah,
hull
still
health
though.
off the Not
Still
My
though. The flak was for long range and not my fault. Even
Mhm.
though it took damage, it managed to come in close and has popped the balloon of Her Majesty Roy. I think that even though they lost that hull, this is a great engagement
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
for the
In
Merry Men.
addition, the
Oh no. Then it was
Then-
rebuilt, taking a lot of mortar damage. You need to get that armor back up. Watcher goes out. Disables those front guns. The Merry Men have spent hull for a great first engagement.
Flying Dutchman has only one gun disabled now. Those Gatlings are starting to lay into. Then it was rebuilt. Not My Fault, keeping very good pressure on the Her Majesty Roy. Her Majesty Roy does not have a lot of options. They're getting crushed against the dunes by that goldfish and by the heavy carronade on the front of it.
Here we go. Flying Dutchman breaking off of the Then It Was Rebuilt to try to help Her Majesty Roy. Gatling going into the Not My Fault. A lot of it goes wide, but they still may be able to take out the armor. No, they can't. They get a whack on it. Just too much of that Gatling went wide. Then It Was Rebuilt. Now getting great shots on the Flying Dutchman. The Dutchman need to make something happen on the Not My Fault. The Not My Fault's alive. This is great for the Merry Men.
This is a great engagement for the Merry Men so far. They've done a great job of managing the amount of damage they took with that charge. Great Watcher shots on the Flying Dutchman. Not My Fault, continuing the pressure on the Her Majesty Roy.
Look at this. Not My Fault. Throwing out Banshee onto the Flying Dutchman and disabling the balloon of Her Majesty Roy. Even gonna get the kill. Almost. Pyrrha goes down. Majesty Roy drops as well. First engagement. 2-0 to the Merry Men.
Whew.
That's the kind of play we wanted to see from them. Last two games have been a little bit disappointing. This game, Merry Men really pulling out all the stops. They did great.
That focused aggression is really what we needed to see for these two Merry Men ships to engage and get victory.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound right now that I say it, but they they managed the amount of damage that they knew they were going to take. They knew they were going to take flak shots as they approached, but their saving grace was that if they only took one flak shot, it wasn't going to kill them. And that's exactly what happened. Not My Fault. Only taking one of those flak shots, dodging the second, only taking half of its hull and damage. They finished the engagement very well.
Little under half. They right now are sitting just above half. It'll take 3 flak shots to kill them. 2 now.
Close enough.
2. I'd say that's a pretty big difference though.
Really?
The fact that you need to land 3 flak shots in order to kill the goldfish is pretty huge.
Fair point.
I think like flak's hard to land. And so having to land 50% more flak is hard.
Her Majesty Roy and Flying Dutchman. Both
They're hanging back.
They want to sit back and try to let those long range guns do the speaking for them. Merc shots going out, heavy flak shots going out as well. Nothing concrete just yet, but the Brotherhood trying to get those arcs laid down to make sure the next time Merry Men approach, it will be a couple kills for them.
I think right now the Merry Men, the Merry Men know that, or the Brotherhood, I should say, the Brotherhood know that the Merry Men are damaged, and they're banking on the fact that they can land flak shots before they come in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tall order.
Dust clouds concealing the majority of this wreck. Had the Merry Men approach this a little bit sooner, this is actually a really good opportunity for them to use the cloud to approach in the first place.
Yeah, they might. I think that the Merry Men are going to wait for another set of clouds before they try to move in. They're just going to hang out behind the Leviathan for now. Going to wait for the next wave. Taking their time. We have a breather. So, if the Merry Men decide to charge in, do you think that they can do it again?
There's a lot of open space. that they have to deal with.
Not as much.
Unless they get a good cloud, it's going to be difficult.
Look,
Now, I can't say I feel confident about it. They can do it. If they can do it without losing a ship, though, I'll be impressed.
Yeah, it'll be tough. That being said, oh, there's the spot. Oof, that is going to make it hard for the Merry Men. The Merry Men might just run out the clock. I think that's what they're doing. We have another, think about 13 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't. Did they burn into any of their overtime? I'm pretty
if
sure
they
did,
did, it was very little.
Yeah, it's very, very little. So probably about 13, 12 minutes left on the clock. And the Merry Men are content to just hide behind the Leviathan. And I think the Brotherhood realized this. They're going to have to be the ones to make the move. Since this is the last match of the best of 3, the Merry Men are not worried about losing overtime for the next match, because there will not be a next match in this best of 3.
Mm-hmm. If they run this timeout, which is very reasonable in the situation, there isn't a lot of time left in the first place, they'll get a win.
Yeah.
They just have to hold out.
The big danger for the Merry Men now is getting caught. Are they really going to play Ring Around the Rosie?
Possibly.
It's in their favor. It's going to force an engagement close.
Her Majesty Roy taking a few lumberjack shots to the balloon. Doesn't quite kill it, but nearly does.
That's going to buy him time. That's all they want. Another 12 minutes.
They're
been
the
7
Merry
minutes
Men,
of overtime, even less than we thought. 9 minutes left.
Okay.
They went into 3 minutes. That's more than I thought.
Yeah, it felt like we didn't really get into any overtime on that second game of this matchup, but Parrot and Rumble ate a little bit of it up. So there we go.
Yeah, the Merry Men not worried. Ooh, Her Majesty Roy, Flying Dutchman moving in. However, they are going through a dust cloud. This is going to make the engagement really bad. Now, here's the thing about engaging through a dust cloud. Yeah, you can get all your components back up to full before you go in, but then you have the timers. There we go. Looks like they managed their timers decently well there. Flying Dutchman going to come out just about ready. Watcha.
None of those shots
misses.
hit.
Oh, this is so bad for the Brotherhood.
Brotherhood's Flying Dutchman gets relatively well disabled. Just an engine and a gun port available on it still. They can't do a lot of good, though, in this position. Then it was rebuilt and Not My Fault are going to lay into it here.
Oh, no.
Those Watcha shots.
Not My Fault's going to follow it down. Solda, then it was rebuilt. Her Majesty Roy desperately trying to get in here. But that's the starboard side facing. That's not what they want. The Flying Dutchman going to get dropped. 3-0. And no hull spent for the Merry Men.
Are you sure about that? Because it looks like that it was rebuilt is taking some hull damage.
Little bit. They're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. They didn't lose that much, and Her Majesty Roy is in a lot of trouble. Lumberjack
getting ground
landing.
out here without any cover is so risky.
Well, it's just bad. Not My Fault coming in to make sure that balloon stays down.
It's going to stay down too.
Yeah.
Easy kill. Nose cone right above the balloon. Gentle nudge. They're gone. 4-0 in favor of Zill's Merry Men.
And overtime started. I think this is it. I don't see any way that the Brotherhood could really come back.
If they do, it'll be one of those miracle comebacks.
Yeah, the Merry Men, this is more the play we were expecting from them. Like their play, this is very smart play. And it's better play. That approach was great.
Yeah, absolutely. The Flying Dutchman sat a little too far back Her Majesty Roy sat a little too far back while Flying Dutchman really barreled towards the Merry Men, allowing their guns to do the work for them. It wasn't really a contest at that point. The Flying Dutchman lost everything but a gun port and an engine port. It didn't have any opportunities available to it beyond hitting that respawn button.
Yeah, that kill was very fast.
Majesty
surprisingly
Roy.
fast with no real way to deal with Hull. They just let the ground do it for them.
Her Majesty Roy has separated from the Flying Dutchman, and both of them are progressing forward on the sides of the Merry Men. I'm not sure this is going to work out well for them, but it's definitely a different approach, a different way to look at this problem, which I think is going to make this, if not successful, at least a very vicious brawl.
Definitely. Even if this goes in the favor of the Brotherhood, though, the Merry Men are going to come back with full hull.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the real limiting factors now after that first engagement, is that they did sacrifice hull for it. So even if they lose this, they may be able to come back and get that one kill they need for victory. Her Majesty Roy revealing herself, Flying Dutchman doing the same, coming around the corner. Not my fault now, turning on the Majesty Roy. She's going to start firing out those carronade shots into the balloon. Lumberjack lands. Majesty Roy already dropping to the deck.
Those flak shots did hit, not my fault, but armor wasn't even dropped. Her Majesty Roy has lost 2 engines, the balloon, and the armor is getting chipped down. Meanwhile, then it was rebuilt, losing just a little bit of armor. Armor is actually down.
Flying Dutchman has a chance to get the kill here. All getting shredded by the mortar, and it does fall. The
That was
is staying.
That was a very solid, aggressive engagement. Flying Dutchman taking the advantage of the fact that the galleon is not good solo. It cannot maintain itself in a fight. It needs support, just like we see with Her Majesty Roy, not my fault, able to dance around the large, heavy vessel.
Armor drops again. They're not even going to worry about the Banshee. There it is. They're just camping the armor, praying for the Flying Dutchman to come in. And the Not My Fault is going to get one more shot for the kill. 5-1 in favor of Merry Men. They are going to move on to face SPQR.
Finals today for the North American bracket. First map in that lineup is going to be, if I can pull that up here. Where are you? There you are. Canyon Ambush. Canyon Ambush, the first map of today. And then Battle in the Dunes and finishing off with Peridot Rumble.
All right, let's move on to the next one right away.
Not quite right away. We're going to take a short timeout while we get things set up. We'll give Lucas a moment to get the lobby up and get teams involved. And again, thank you to Lucas for the reffing and the modding in-game, as well as Rob for all the camera work and the tech. And thank you to DJ Bahamut for the music we've used during today's event, as well as artwork by Tatiana Fanol and Robert Shepard. We're going to be back in just a moment here. Thank you for joining us here for the 2014 R&D Invitationals right here on twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show.